Ah, Windows Vista. Just saying the name probably brings back, well, some not-so-great memories, right? Frustration, error messages, maybe frantically searching for how to downgrade back to XP. It's got this reputation as one of Microsoft's all-time biggest blunders. But what if that's not the whole story? What if Vista wasn't just a failure? What if it was actually a necessary disaster? A ridiculously ambitious project that totally crashed and burned, but from its ashes, the next decade of Windows was born. Yeah, let's get into the story of this beautiful disaster.
So, let's just get right to it. Was Windows Vista the worst OS ever? I mean, that's the story most of us know. But the real story is so much more interesting than that. We're going to explore how a project with so much promise ended up with such a, let's be honest, toxic reputation. And, maybe more importantly, how its most hated features secretly became the foundation for the OS everyone loved, Windows 7. And this, right here, really lays out the two sides of the coin. On the left, you've got the myth, the public memory, a total failure, bloated, super annoying, a mistake everyone tried to forget. But then you look at Microsoft's mission on the right, and it's the total opposite. They were swinging for the fences, trying to create a revolutionary leap forward. They wanted something that was secure, groundbreaking, and would literally be the foundation for the next decade of Windows. The massive gap between that mission and the myth, that's where our story really gets good.
Okay, so to really get why things went so wrong, we have to start with the vision. We have to understand just how insanely ambitious this project was from the get-go. This was never meant to be just another simple update. It was a complete top-to-bottom reimagining of what Windows could be.
So, it all kicked off back in 2001 with a codename Longhorn. And you can see from this timeline, it started out as a pretty modest idea, just a minor release, a little stepping stone between Windows XP and whatever was coming next. But that's not what happened. The project's scope just exploded. It started pulling in these huge, futuristic features from Microsoft's other big project, Blackcomb, and it just ballooned from this small update into a massive, sprawling, multi-year overhaul. This thing got big, fast. And this grand vision really rested on what they called the three pillars. Think of them as three huge bets on the future. First, you had Avalon, a brand new graphics system that was going to make Windows look absolutely stunning. We're talking see-through glass effects, super smooth animations, the whole 9 yards. Then there was Indigo, a new communications framework, basically a new, secure way for apps to talk to each other and to the internet. And finally, the big one, WinFS. This was the holy grail. It was a new file system that promised you could search for anything on your computer, an email, a picture, a line in a document, as fast and easy as searching on Google. I mean, this wasn't just an update, this was a ground-up reinvention.
But, well, all that incredible ambition, it ran headfirst into a brick wall called reality. The project became so massive, so unbelievably complex and tangled, that it just started to collapse under its own weight.
And look, don't just take my word for it. This quote isn't from some angry blogger or tech journalist. This is from Jim Allchin, the guy at Microsoft in charge of the entire Windows division at the time. He admitted in an internal memo that the whole project was, in his words, crashing into the ground. Developers were just throwing features in without any real plan, the code was becoming a complete mess, and they just couldn't get the thing to be stable, at all. And then, just to pour salt in the wound, came a huge shock from the outside. In 2005, Apple drops Mac OS X Tiger, and guess what? It had features that looked a whole lot like what Longhorn was promising, like super fast file searching. But here's the kicker. Apple's stuff actually worked. It was stable, it was sleek, and it made Microsoft's buggy, unstable Longhorn builds look absolutely disastrous in comparison. It was a huge wake-up call.
So, they had to make a brutal, almost unthinkable decision. In August of 2004, they hit the big red button on what became known as the Great Reset. This meant basically throwing away years of work. They ditched the chaotic, messy Longhorn code. They started over, from scratch, using the stable foundation of Windows Server 2003. And from there, they began painstakingly adding features back in, one by one. It had to be an incredibly painful decision, but it was absolutely necessary.
So what finally emerged from the ashes of that massive reset? Well, we got a product that was kind of both brilliant and deeply, deeply flawed. This was the operating system that would finally be named Windows Vista.
And let's start with the good, because visually, Vista was a knockout. I mean, the most obvious win was the new look. After years of staring at the, let's call it classic, blue and green of Windows XP, the Windows Aero interface felt like stepping into the future. Those translucent glass effects, the slick window animations, it looked amazing. This was the visual centerpiece, and it was a huge part of the initial hype.
But yeah, underneath that beautiful glassy surface, things were often a little shaky. And this story just perfectly captures the problem. There's this infamous live demo where a presenter tried to show off the cool new speech recognition. He said the simple phrase, "Dear Mom." The computer heard, "Dear Aunt, let's set so double the killer delete select all." I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It was hilarious, but it was also a super public sign that a lot of Vista's flashy new features just weren't ready.
And then there was user account control. You probably know it as UAC. Now, on paper, this was an absolutely critical security upgrade. It was designed to stop viruses and malware in their tracks. But in practice, oh man, the implementation was so aggressive, it felt like every single time you clicked on anything, a box would pop up nagging you for permission. It was like, are you sure? Are you really sure? USC became maybe the single most hated feature of Vista, the poster child for its user unfriendliness, even though, ironically, it was making your computer way safer.
So, let's recap. You've got an OS that's beautiful but needs a powerful computer. It's more secure, but it's also incredibly annoying. You can probably guess how the public reacted. To put it mildly, it did not go over well.
Okay, a huge part of the backlash came down to hardware confusion. Microsoft came up with these two marketing labels, Vista Capable and Vista Premium Ready. But here was the problem. That Vista Capable sticker basically meant your PC could run the ugliest, most basic version of the OS imaginable. So people would go out, buy a brand new computer with the Vista Capable sticker, get it home, and then realize they couldn't even use the cool glass Aero interface everyone was talking about. People felt totally ripped off, and it even led to a class action lawsuit.
And in the business world, oh, the numbers were just brutal. Take a look at this user satisfaction chart from 2008. For good old reliable Windows XP, 40% of corporate users were very satisfied. And for the brand new Windows Vista, that number cratered to just 8%. That's a massive drop. Businesses, IT departments, and power users just flat out rejected it. They decided to stick with what they knew actually worked.
So you see, it really wasn't just one single thing that doomed Vista's reputation. It was a perfect storm of criticism. It took way too long to come out, it was more expensive, the licensing was a headache, it came with new DRM that restricted what you could do with your movies and music, and of course, those never-ending UAC prompts. After all that, Vista's reputation was pretty much sealed in concrete.
But, and this is the most important part of the whole story, this is where it takes a fascinating turn. Because while Windows Vista the product was seen as a massive failure, Vista the project was, secretly, a huge success. First off, let's bust a major myth. For all the hate it got, Vista wasn't a complete sales flop. Check out this number, 330 million. By 2009, there were 330 million people using it. That's a lot of people. It actually sold faster than XP did in its early days. But the real success story, the hidden legacy of Vista, isn't about sales numbers at all. Okay, this right here is the absolute key to understanding Vista's true legacy. Look at the column on the left. These are all of Vista's biggest failures, the things everyone hated. But now look to the right. Those features didn't just go away. They were fixed, they were refined, and they became the most beloved strengths of Windows 7. That super annoying UAC, it was toned down and made smarter. That heavy Aero interface, it was optimized to be fast and efficient. The brand new driver model that caused so many blue screens of death, it became the stable foundation for graphics in Windows 7. Basically, Vista was the messy, painful public beta test for Windows 7.
And it goes even deeper than that. All of that foundational work they did during that chaotic Longhorn development, the complete rewrites of the audio system, the networking stack, the display drivers, the security architecture, all the stuff that was so buggy and problematic in Vista, that became the modern core of Windows that we're still using today. Vista did all the hard, messy, and unpopular work so that Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, and even Windows 11 could be built on a solid foundation.
And all of this leaves us with a really interesting question to think about, one that goes way beyond just software. It forces us to ask what failure really means. Is it better to aim for something revolutionary and fall short, the way Vista did, or is it better to just play it safe and succeed cautiously with small, predictable updates? There's no easy answer, but what is clear is that Windows Vista was a beautiful disaster, and without its huge, ambitious failure, the entire decade of Windows that came after it would have looked completely different.